Welcome to A Taste of AZ podcast. My name is Luke Irvin, and today we've got an epic episode lined up for you. But before we jump into that, just want to let you guys know real quick, we've got some brand new merchandise up on our website, including these Thanks for Supporting Local hats and 2 new shirts as well. If you like today's episode, please also leave us a review on your favorite podcast app, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow our email newsletter. With nothing else to say, let's jump into today's episode. Hello, A Taste of AZ podcast listeners. We are here today at Park Central Mall, correct?
Yep.
In Central Phoenix, a beautiful new location, but I will let our guests today introduce themselves and where we are exactly.
Yeah, I'm Jared Poole. We're at the Green Woodpecker, and formerly a Starbucks, formerly the Green Woodpecker, which was a gifting floral shop back in the day. So the name's an ode to that floral shop. That's why we sell flowers and some gifts and stuff.
How long ago was it the Green Woodpecker, but not this one?
Aaron probably knows better than I the exact dates. What is that?
Yeah, it was, I believe, 19... Don't quote me on this. I think he was open from like 79 to 2003. He had a good
really
run
good
there.
run.
Yeah, and then after that, then it turned into a Starbucks. That's what most people remember it in this area as. But it's been cool to see in the neighborhood and stuff. When we started saying, "Oh yeah, the bar's going to be called the Green Woodpecker," I've ran into several people and had a conversation where they like light up because if they are from this area of town, they used to come here when they were like younger, and they're like, I used to buy Beanie Babies there. It was like one of those shops, or like they'd buy flowers or just random gifting stuff. So it's been a great way of reusing that name because there's still a lot of people that remember the Green Woodpecker, and I think this is a really cool way of like recreating that space in like a modern way, and it's a social gathering place that we want for Midtown.
And so you two are brothers, right?
Yeah.
And then your other brother Drew was involved kind of in a tangent way, but you grew up in Arizona in this area, right? Not necessarily this exact area, but
Yeah, we're this has been our adult life for sure. Central Phoenix, Midtown area. We grew up at 56th Street in Bell, so like that North Paradise Valley back in the 90s when it was like way north of everything. And we'd always come back to Central Phoenix. I mean, we're diehard Suns and Sun Devil fans, and would come into town. And it was in 2001. Our parents moved to First Avenue in Glendale, so we were really down here a lot. Now, Aaron and I both live within a golf ball shot of the Green Woodpecker, and we loved being here, and we really wanted a place one we could commute quickly to and walk to and just kind of relax and enjoy, and we're really excited to be here.
And we talked a little bit about the historical significance of this spot, or at least, with your guys' story, but what exactly is the Green Woodpecker, your version of it?
So the Green Woodpecker, the idea for the spot is we want to do like a beer and wine type of drinking establishment, but we kept going to like different places in the valley or elsewhere, different states, and always kind of went back to we feel like the beer bar could be elevated, and not that doesn't mean like pretentious elevated. It just means like elevated where I can, if I'm a business professional here, if I'm a lawyer, if I'm a nurse, if I'm a doctor, whatever, I could come and meet someone here for a business meeting. Sure. I could meet friends here. The use, you can have a lot of uses. I can bring the family here, but elevating in the sense that, you don't always want to take a business trip and have a business meeting at like Zips. It's a sports bar.
Definitely.
You don't want to always have to go to a coffee shop. How do we make something elevated where there's like these really interesting styles of beer, and you can just have sessionable beers outside on the patio when it's nice and warm and everything. So that's like the idea behind Woodpecker, and then we've what we always do, we want to make things unique, truly unique and differentiated. So our kind of spin on the bar idea is we have complimentary chips and salsa with your beer instead of like bar peanuts or pretzels. And us growing up in the Phoenix market, we ate at a lot of these traditional Mexican restaurants where you always had complimentary chips and salsa. So that's
My
kind of
favorite part.
Yeah, exactly. So you can get that with your beers now, and then we've got we do tacos during like happy hour into the evening on certain days of the week right now. So we have this big trompo in the middle of the space that's making pastor tacos and stuff. So yeah, cool.
And then Aaron figured out a vegetarian vegan option with these hen of the wood mushrooms. And once they're seared, they're initially seared, then soaked, then seared again. I mean, a meat eater wouldn't know it's not meat. Yeah. It's so good and so savory. So we do those 2 tacos, and we're playing with a couple other things. We've got the kitchen right in the middle of the bar, so it gives us an opportunity to be front and center in front of a lot of people, showing them making fresh chips like to order. Yeah. So you're getting these hot chips with salsa and stuff. Yeah. And then we're going to play with like a grab and go burrito type situation with our El Pastor vegetarian options, where they can eat it here in house or take it to go. So really trying to do that, and then also work with our local places right next to us. West Hut is awesome African food, and then we have our Thai spot right next to it too. And we saw it with Drew at Wren House, where it's like they'd bring Gadzooks in sometimes, or a food truck, and we have all these food trucks right here that are standalone restaurants, and it's been great. So we're really excited to see people eat in the space and enjoy beer.
So you mentioned Gadzooks. Mm-hmm. For those who don't know, that is a project of your guys that you did before this place. How did you get to that point? Like, did you guys grow up around food? Is that something you loved? Is Gadzooks even your first spot?
Yeah, so Gadzooks was just I was a student at Arizona State, and then I had this idea for like an enchilada shop back when I was in college, and I ended up opening the original store at 7th Street in Osborne, so in Midtown, back in 2013. None of us were ever in the food industry, like we're several generations removed from it. It was just our family, the 3 boys are entrepreneurial minded, and really just learned how, like, open Gadzooks. We learned how to run and operate a restaurant. We've got 5 of them now. There's a 6th one in Gilbert being opened.
Nice.
And then now we've gone to doing this bar with Drew, which has been really fun for all 3 of us. And then we'll have Pool Boy Taco, which is also in the same complex, coming in the next few months.
So when you were in school, were you going for, hospitality?
I was a business management.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my major. And it's interesting because on top of that, our mom, she was the stay-at-home mom with us growing up. She's a very good cook, and you learn by being around in the kitchen and doing all those things. You really learn good habits, bad habits. You don't need to be classically trained. Mm-hmm. I believe. I think that's the beauty about food. It's a creative canvas, really, and so we feel like we trust our palate. And I guess you have to have confidence in your palate to begin with.
Sure.
And then when we go and seek out how to do something like the El Pastor here, it's just looking at, okay, who does El Pastor well? Why do I like this El Pastor? Why do I not like this El Pastor? And it might be because it's chewy. It might be because it's too sweet. It's XYZ. Well, you start like breaking down, well, why is it sweet? Well, they probably put too much pineapple juice or orange juice or sugar in it. Why is it chewy? It's probably because it's cut too thick, or they're not using a good cooking device. So then you start playing with all these things over several months, and you kind of start narrowing your recipe down into something where you're like, holy shit, like, that's good.
Yeah.
That's real good. And that's what we're proud of. Nothing we're going to ever sell is going to be something that we don't think we're like excited about.
And that's growing up with 3 boys. We were like, say, 6, 4, and 2, and we were terrors. And the only way to like behave was to watch your mom cook in the kitchen.
Okay.
That's where she was. So, and then our dad's a dentist, and my past life I was a dentist, but we're like super observant. Yeah. So we just observe what she would do, and then she always definitely, like, both of them, our mom and dad, are like, it's if it's not the best, like, we got to figure out how to make that food the best, or whatever rendition we're talking about, food or dentistry or whatever. But that's what's been really cool. And now this finalized product, I mean, all the work that Aaron's put into it, and tasting, getting it right. Like, that's what he did at Gadzooks too. And we're kind of coming up on 10 years in April, March, April. And it's just so exciting to see it evolve, and then getting into a space like this where we feel like we know how to kind of control a restaurant now and prime costs and know what we're really going with labor and food. We apply it to a bar setting. We're really excited to sell beer on top of tacos, and at first we're a elevated beer and wine bar, number one. So that's what we're really excited about.
Well, and I like the way you kind of present it. It's not that the tacos are like an afterthought by any means, of course not. But the beer and wine focus, it creates kind of a unique vibe in here. Like beer bars in general have a little bit of a different pace to them than a restaurant, where a restaurant is you come in, you order your food, you eat it, and you leave. Whereas this spot, just the overall vibe kind of has a relaxing tone to it. The music, kind of the textures and whatnot, you feel comfortable here, and I feel like I could be here for 4 or 5 hours drinking beers and having some tacos. Talk a little bit about the design and the aesthetic that you guys wanted to impart on this place.
Yeah, I think just sitting here, I'm looking at like indoor plants, right? And I think the same thing with Pool Boy Taco. Like Pool Boy Taco is an experience that came out of COVID, and we want it to be like you're in a backyard with your friends. It's a lifestyle brand where you're eating these tacos at a pool party. Well, this beer bar is something similar, where it's like, okay, we've brought in all these natural plants, lots of natural light. We want it to be a place where you're comfortable, like you're sitting in your living room and you're just chilling. And Drew always keeps saying sessionable beers, and I never knew what that meant. I'm like, Drew, what's that mean? He's like, well, you can drink a lot of beers over a period of time that are very approachable. You could probably have 6 of those Bit Burgers and be like, where did 2 hours go? You know, so that was part of it. And then Aaron can talk more about kind of the design.
Yeah, the aesthetic we're going for, like, again, it's like, I don't want to keep preaching on it, but it's like this elevated beer bar. So it's like, it's nice quality. We're sitting in this nice leather booth, you know, and you're getting these bold colors that the Green Woodpecker is like, if you get down to it, it's like a proud bird, right? It's like a stately bird, and you have like this dark ox blood and the dark greens, and it's almost like that regal like vibe to it, you know. It's like royalty, I feel like. And you bring in the natural woods, and then what we really want to do, because this being a former Starbucks, it was a very dark Starbucks. Like you come in here and there was no windows, just the storefront doors.
Oh, really? Wow.
So we cut huge holes into the south and east facing walls, and we created an island bar that has been cold the last week that we were open. But when that thing's got people around it, it is awesome, because it's bringing the indoor outdoor, the corner that we're on in Park Central, people walk through from the parking garages and everything, and they have to walk through our space, and we have this really great sound system, so it like encompasses you feel like you're enveloped in like sound, and like you experience Woodpecker even if you're just walking through. And then it's just a ton of outdoor seating. I mean, the outdoor patio is like 3 times the size as our indoor, but that was all part of it, because we've been in Midtown. I've lived here since I opened the first store in 2013. Jared's been in Midtown since 2015. And I used to live on 3rd Street in Catalina with my wife, and we were in these condos, and they looked straight onto Catalina, and there's all the big Midtown high-rises on Central. And we call it the Catalina Shuffle at 5. That meant that the line of cars was coming down Catalina, and then they're just waiting to get onto 3rd Street, and they're either going to the I-10 or they're going to go up to Osborne, and they're just exiting Midtown. Well, why were everyone exiting? It's because there's nowhere to keep them. There's nowhere to stay in Midtown Road. There's a couple places, but we're like, there's people here leaving work. People live here, Willow. There's a lot of historical neighborhoods, but there's not a lot of supply of restaurants or bars. So that's where the genesis for these like concepts is like, well, Midtown deserves cool stuff. You know, it doesn't need to be downtown. It doesn't need to be uptown. Why not Midtown? So that's what we are passionate about and we believe in, is this area.
And we're 2 guys doing this, and our other partner, Mike Swafford, where it's a all male team, and we're like, okay, if we're going to design a space, our significant others are wonderful, but we knew it needed a feminine touch, so we hired Edge Quarters. They're an all female design team, and we found them. They did Belly over on 7th Avenue, and they've been wonderful, kind of helping them with the palette and the aesthetic and stuff. So we're trying to really embrace it, kind of that local, like, we're 3 guys doing this, like, let's bring that feminine touch in, and we get that softer elements. And sitting here, you can't see like the bathrooms. We got like infinity mirrors in there with like cool lighting and stuff that you can change. And we just wanted to kind of be funky and different too. And ultimately, at the end of the day, this is where we want to drink beers. From the music to the food to the beers that we have, this is where we want to hang out. So we're excited to do that for sure.
Well, it's interesting because I would say that my significant other and the feminine touch in my life definitely makes me cooler and seem a little bit more elevated, right? Yeah. But it's a beer and wine spot, and I love that the color that you have, being the oxblood walls and the leather we have here and the wood tones and whatnot kind of play off of those things, and then you get the natural component of the green, and that kind of energizes you a lot. Colors are a huge thing, and the way that you've arranged these colors too kind of pushes your eyes in certain directions, with the walls being dark like this and then these nice leather seats here, and of course the bar is that beautiful green as well. It has such an open feeling. You don't see a lot of beer bars like this, and the ones that you do are ones that you would probably put in the category of elevated, of course. And so
same thing with that flooring too, that like aggregate there, that's back in the day that they tiled over and they ripped up, and then we polished and sanded it all down. It's not perfect by any means, but we like love the warmth of like, it's almost got the peach and the ruby tones to it.
Totally.
And it just opens up that whole visual.
Yeah, and when Park Central was opened in 1957, this space, before it was Woodpecker, it was a Walgreens. And that, so you get like that 50s area. Oh, that's cool. And like when Starbucks left and we took the space, then we popped up a tile and we're like, holy shit, like that's
so this is original
floor.
from the
this
building.
OG, yeah.
That's so cool because it's for those who can't see, it's like a terrazzo type.
Yeah,
it's
and the main color is that nice creamy tannish, but then the bits in it are like pink and peach, like you said, and it really ties into the overall aesthetic and the fact that that's original and has kind of a mid-century touch, which is also played off in here. It all comes together really nicely for sure.
And then the other final touch that's coming, if we have anyone that knows art on the podcast. So it's weird how things happen, but when Jared he had a dental practice in San Francisco, and one of his patients was a guy named Jeremy Fish, and he's artist Jared can elaborate on it, but he's a well-known artist in the Bay Area. So he's flying in, I believe, on Friday, and this is going to turn into a mural. And if you know Jeremy Fish work, he does stuff with animals, and they're what would you describe? It's funky, fun,
whimsical.
Yeah, it'll be a really cool piece.
It's almost like you're like looking at a pun. Kind of, he does that too with play on words and animals, and our woodpecker's beak is a pencil and like stuff like that. Like it's gonna be little treats in there. But
did he do your logo?
No,
that's our boy Kevin Layshock.
Yeah, Kevin Layshock,
he's our creative director.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
So all the apparel you see here, that's all Kevin's brain, and he's done everything like this in an hour. So the now spinning sign will pop up. He did all that. He did our menu board and stuff with Chris Valente, and he just has a great eye too for the apparel part of it. But this Jeremy Fish thing should be really cool if people want to come check it out. He's going to be painting in the space for 6 days over Christmas.
Wow.
So he's going to stay at the Rise Hotel, and he asked if there was a chimney. So he's really excited.
Yeah, well, and he's again, if people know him, it's like people that know him love him. And I mean, he's got a Nike like shoe line that it's cool.
Okay, yeah.
So like people that know art, and the other cool thing that ties the art into Park Central is there's a place called Art Link in Park Central, and there's a lot of artists in this in Park Central, and that's going to be kind of an ode to this whole artist vibe and stuff. So really cool.
Describe what Park Central is a little bit more.
Well, Park Central, the claim to fame for Park Central was back when they built it in 1957. It was the first mall in Phoenix.
Really?
So that's when, there was the spread coming out of downtown Phoenix, and it was going up Central to what is Midtown, but this used to be kind of the outskirts. It was an old dairy farm. And
that's so crazy how much Phoenix has changed. It's mind-blowing.
And then over the years, from the 50s, 60s, 70s, it was the place to go shopping. There was all your local big retailers. So you had Goldwater's, Diamonds, all these local regional chains. And
just imagine all the old cars out here, how different it must have been.
Yeah, and we see old historical photos, and it was anyone that was in Phoenix from the 50s to the 70s, Park Central was the place to go. And then with urban sprawl, you had like the 90s and the early 2000s, which all the department stores left. They went to the suburbs. And this kind of became a hollowed out core of Midtown because there's just not as many people infilled. Well, then we've seen a resurgence back in like the later half of the 2010s till now, where there's a lot more infill back into Phoenix.
Sure.
So like all the historical neighborhoods are like great neighborhoods to live now. You have a ton of people working in the Midtown area. And then the property ownership that owns it now is reimagining it as it's like a medical, I guess they would call it medical and technology offices that they've kind of infilled into this area. And then we've got, like, you can see next to us, there's a like 7 or 9 story apartment building that's ready to be opened. We have Creighton Medical School that's right next to us at our doorstep. The hospital is a football throw away. So there's a lot of really cool things happening in the Park Central area, and just, a lot of infill happening. And the city's really been behind it because when you look at Midtown, it's like, why has Midtown not grown the same way as downtown or uptown? And you look at it from an aerial shot, it's like, because Park Central was just this gaping hole. There was like nothing in it. And then now that they're infilling it and everything, it's becoming something really cool.
And for the Super Bowl coming up, they're going to try to make this a hub where we have the Park Mahal, they call it, like the largest parking center in all of Phoenix this year. It's like right over here in the corner.
Park Mahal.
The Park Mahal. So they're trying to get people to park there and commute via light rail. So this is going to be an awesome hub. And we've got like an elevated patio up there where we've got a bunch of DJ plugins and stuff. So we're excited to have like live music and people coming and stuff. But it's like, we want this to be kind of the locals' watering hole for this area because other than, maybe a sports bar or something, there's nothing really like that yet. So, we're excited.
So we haven't really dug too much into your guys' beer selection. Talk about who picked those beers and why some of them have made their spot on that list.
Okay, so Jared's the oldest. I'm the youngest. Drew's the middle of the boys. And Drew's one of the owners of Wren House. When we started picking around the idea of this beer and wine bar, like, well, who knows beer? Like, I like beer, but I don't know beer. Drew's a beer geek. So we asked him if he would want to be part of this. And of course, he's like, absolutely. So he can kind of spread his wings outside of just Wren House. And how he describes, kind of how we created the food menu. It's like anything that we do, it's a few things, but we're going to execute them extremely well. And they're going to be the best of, like the pastor taco is going to be the best of like what we deem a pastor taco to be. So when he built this list, like Jared had said earlier, sessionability, but also if you have like that Bitburger Pils or you've got the Torpedo IPA, he wanted to pick whatever of its style. He wanted to pick who basically crafts that style. What's the best representation of that style? And so you're not getting a random microbrewed pills from who knows where that you might get and you might be like, God, that freaking sucks. You know, it's like, no, that's going to be a great, clean, crisp version of that Pilsner style.
One that people try and brew their Pilsners to be like.
Yeah, exactly. So we're not trying to be a creative hub for that type of stuff. And you're not going to come in here and see our 12 or our 15 beers all be hazy IPAs and be, kind of all taste the same or be not good versions of themselves. We're going to have like the pseudo Sue, hazy, pale ale. It's just a list that you're going to be proud of, that you can be like, okay, I see that style and I know it's going to be good. I know it's good. And it's not going to be a Safeway shelf beer. Like you're not going to see that type of stuff, but like it's approachable.
Well, and you mentioned the sessionability of your entire concept, and that's one of the first things I noticed looking at the list. Is we were talking before we started about how I've been kind of venturing away from hazies and things that can weigh on you a little bit more than a Pilsner could. A Pilsner is one of the most sessionable, if not the most sessionable beers of all time, but the Pseudo Sue and the Pizza Port Amber that you have on there, that's not a beer that I would typically pick out of a long list. But I almost picked it today. I just asked for a recommendation instead. And I think that plays really nicely into enjoying it with food as well, right? Because if you're drinking super big beers, that kind of weighs you down. And then you throw some tacos on top of that. As much as I love doing that, sometimes I regret doing it after the fact.
Yeah, Drew's a trip, man. I swore off traveling and checking a bag. Drew always checks a bag because he always brings Wren House beer to these brewers around the world because with Intel, he's gotten to go all over the place. So he creates these relationships with these brewers. So maybe a beer bar would have 1 or 2 distributors. We have like 5 that he's working with, where we're getting beer from all over the place. And that makes it really, really unique too. And to piggyback off that, it's the wine list that Mike Swafford helped create was intentionally, we went all organic with our wines, and making sure, we always think if we drink organic wines, we're not going to get as hungover. So we've got a bunch of organic wines here that are unique and different too. And when these reps come in and pitch us these wine lists, they might not be the best sellers, but it's like, these are so unique and different where they're blended or where they're grown, that organically, like, they set themselves apart. So we're excited to showcase that too. And even with the glassware for the wine, we don't have like stems or anything. We just got, like, if you rolled up to your living room with 4 friends, you've got these like shorty little wine glasses that you chill with and share a bottle, and it's like super approachable. And same thing with our beer glasses. They've got this like cute little Green Woodpecker bird on it. And they're 13-ounce pours at $6. So we're encouraging people not only to drink a lot of beer, but try different things too. And at $6, like, you can cruise through this and still feel like, oh, that's a good deal compared to where pints are now at places. It's wild.
Absolutely.
And that was another one of Drew's approaches, was, like Jared said, $6 a pour. Doesn't matter what the pour is. So if you're a savvy beer drinker and you see like something on draft that you know costs us like double and you'd probably pay more, we're okay with that, because it all evens itself out, and it's just a place where you don't have to think about price, and you don't have to be like, oh, that's a $12 pour, that's an $8 pour. It's like, no, there's $6 across the board.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get a quick message in, and then we'll jump back into some beer stuff, because I'm enjoying this conversation. Real quick message for you guys. If you guys are enjoying today's episode, please leave us a review on your favorite podcast app and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our email newsletter for all of the cool spots to eat and drink around town, as well as upcoming events and fun stuff like that. Also, we've got some brand new merch on our website, including these Thanks for Supporting Local hats and 2 brand new t-shirts. So make sure to check out our website for more. Now back to the podcast. Jumping back into it, off the mic, we were appreciating the size of this beer. And you were saying with 16-ounce beers, sometimes you'll have 2 and you're like, okay, that was a little bit too much. Sometimes for me, with the little cans, I have, let's say you get a great 12-ounce can of something, you drink the whole thing, you're like, oh, I wish I just had one more sip in it. This does that. And then it also kind of walks that fine line of being able to try another beer after that. And then if you don't like that beer, 13 ounces of beer isn't a crazy amount either. And I think a $6 beer in this day and age is pretty hard to find. I went to a nice restaurant recently, and I think they were doing 12-ounce pours for like $9. And I'm sitting there, I'm feeling like I'm getting flossed, because I'm I know that I could get this at the store, this exact beer, for like probably half the price.
Like a 12-pack for that. Yeah.
Well, and then also as well, you have the very cool the tap pour as well. What exactly is going on over there? I've never seen something like that.
Yeah, it's just a cool tower that is Drew showed this tower, and then we went into kind of the spec book, and we're like, oh wow, you could get in like a nice brass, and you get in that dark green color, and it just fits the space so well. It looks so good. And then I was gonna follow up on the beer pour. So you get your 13.2 ounce pours or whatever, but you can also get a pitcher. So we do have pitchers. I think they're like 46 ounces or something. So yeah, if you want some more, you just get yourself a pitcher of torpedo. Just go after it.
We've already, like, it's so funny, like when you open a space, kind of seeing how it's getting used in those things. We got a couple guys, not to be named, and we actually don't know them, but they come over from work and grab a pitcher and they split it and then go back to work, and it's like the best fucking way to break up your day. And they're just chilling, and it's a great the pitcher too. Drew does a really good job when he's traveling around, like curating these things, and he was able to find that pitcher. And then the idea for the tower too, I think he saw originally a ceramic version, which they do not make in the US, but super dope. So
well, pitchers are interesting, because I've heard some brewers say that they hate pitchers because they don't want their beer to sit out for any longer than necessary. I'm surprised on one hand to hear that you guys have pitchers, but on the other hand, I love a pitcher.
Yeah, it's tough.
And I was not ever quite like a beer snob, but I would try and impress my friends with my expansive knowledge of beer that's actually not that expansive. But when you have a pitcher out there, and then it's like we were saying, if you find a beer that you really like, having that extra little bit that you can pour in the glass at the end is amazing.
Yeah, and Drew originally was against the idea of pitchers, but then when we talked about it, he really warmed up to it. So I don't know if it's just kind of how he's seen different brewers change over the years, or if I'm not quite sure. We'd have to ask him why he came around on it. Mm-hmm. But like with Pool Boy Taco, we were talking about like we want pitchers out there. That's going to be like a heavy drinking type of like focused concept out there. And we're talking about like, yeah, I love the idea of like big pitchers. Like I used to go to Bikini Lounge on Grand, and you used to go in there. It's cash only, but you could buy you would buy a pitcher for yourself, and you just drink out of the pitcher with your buddies, and it'd be like $7 for like BBR or whatever, and you get like 5 beers in the pitcher. Yeah. But it comes full circle on what we want Woodpecker to be, and we want it to be a place where you meet, have conversation like we're having right now, have a pitcher in between you, and you could just pour more beers and just let the conversation flow. That's what everything is about in this space. And I think a pitcher is like a testament to that idea. It's you and a group of people.
Yeah, I think post-COVID times too, and probably the answer Drew would give too, and we might have nudged him a little bit, but after COVID, during COVID, before COVID, like the only thing you can go back to is what you believe in, and we fucking love pitchers. So like we like pitchers of beer, so let's do pitchers of beer, and like if we're passionate about something, we're going to try to execute it, and because there's just so many levers to pull, and it's like we like pitchers, we like tacos and chips, like let's do it.
Absolutely.
So that's what's been cool about it.
Well, I think with brewers, it's like any sip they take of any beer is like a quality assurance check. They're like, even if they can't help it and they just want to enjoy a beer, maybe after several it changes a little bit, but they're like getting every single note of it, making sure it's all good, right temperature and all that. Whereas like, I get that, and I love enjoying beer like that, and that's part of an elevated experience, sure. But also, what it seems like you guys done really well is have the elevated factor of it, but also, like you're saying, the casual, relaxed environment. And that kind of walks that line, right? You have these fantastic beers that are from around the world, sourced very specifically, but you can also enjoy them in a super casual way. Mm-hmm. So we've talked about the tacos a little bit, but what exactly is an al pastor taco?
Al pastor taco. So the reason why it was actually part of when we decided to do a beer bar. Like the pastor has been always a component of this. And it was always, the pastor needs to be like in middle of the fucking space, and it's just going to be ridiculous. Like it's just this big spit of pork just rotating with this open flame. So a lot of people don't realize what the al pastor taco, it was created from when a bunch of immigrants from Lebanon went to Mexico.
Okay.
And they had their shawarma cooking mechanism. And then the Mexicans started utilizing, okay, let's slice pork and like, let's put it in the stuff that we have. So like pineapple juice, HEO paste, all this stuff. And they would stack it, use that cooking mechanism. And that's how we have the pastor taco now. So it's, best way to describe it is we slice pork shoulder, and the reason why ours is very tasty is we thinly slice it. So we have a lot of layers of pork, and then we marinate it in it's like, I just made some earlier today. It's like a pineapple HEO paste. What else do we put in it? Guajillo chili. So it's like this real red color. And then we stack it on the stick and we put a pineapple on top. And then we have this open flame, trompo is what it's called, and then it just cooks on that. And so over the course of the day or several hours, you'll start seeing the fat of the pork shoulder just render, so it just drips off the side. It just slides off the side, and then that's when it's ready, when it's nice and charred. That's when you slice it off. Then we crisp it up on our flat top. We make freshly pressed yellow corn tortillas, and which are outrageous. I mean, a taco's only as good as, just like a sandwich, only as good as its bread.
Sure.
Taco's only as good as its tortilla. We know that at Gadzooks. We make them all fresh every day. So this yellow corn tortilla, the pastor, and then we just use we have a arbol salsa that we put on top of it, tomatillo avocado salsa, onion, cilantro, and a piece of pineapple. Simple, like, you know, it's not being too much. It's just like simple, really well executed ingredients. And you eat that, you can eat like one of our tacos in like 3 or 4 bites. And they're cheap too. And like we eat one of those tacos and then you'll know, like, you drink that beer and you're just like, it makes sense.
Absolutely.
We're in a hospital setting in the helicopter.
Yeah. So you get that big city vibe. Like, air vac just flew over us. And you get that from time, but that's part of it. You get the light rail chirping by, like, you know, it's part of the city.
It was great. Like a lot of people ask, like, you know, how do you figure this out, or how are you going to figure it out? And it took a lot of trips to South Phoenix to like find the perfect yellow masa and the perfect consistency of the chip. We thought we were going to get like these like really light, airy yellow. We want to do yellow corn. I want yellow corn, these light ones. And we kind of found a shop in very deep South Phoenix that we were able to kind of work with and then develop, and then we got it kind of lighter. So our Gadzooks chips we love, and that's a white corn chip. This is lighter than that, and you can eat a bunch of them. The masa that makes a yellow corn tortilla is like so soft and delicate, but you only need one tortilla. You don't need to stack it with 2. Holds its integrity, and then when that pastor is shaved into there, it just melts in your mouth. So this bite, you're not going to get any chewiness to it or anything. It just melts. And then Aaron's going to share about his tortuga, or the mushroom taco. It's so good.
Yeah, so we just over the years developing this concept, I had seen a recipe for hen of the woods, which is maitake mushroom, and I always kept it in my back pocket. And then what we always do, you always like kind of play around with like the recipe, and then you tweak it, and because you find that almost 99.9% of recipes aren't actually that great, and you have to like kind of play with them. So we made this mushroom taco, and not just kind of be an idiot, not knowing, I thought it was gonna be a vegetarian offering, but it turns out it's vegan too, which is awesome. But yeah, it's just like this marinated hen of the woods maitake mushroom that is super beefy, like on the mouth. If you're blindfolded, you would think it's a protein of some sort.
Really?
Yeah, and then it's simple. It's on a yellow corn tortilla, the mushroom, little salsa, onion, cilantro, and it's fantastic. And for a vegan to be able to have that at a beer bar, it's like pretty outrageous. You know, you're always thinking fried foods, you know, all just not stuff good for you. We're really proud of that taco. And then we've done like the first week we've been open, we've done a bunch of like spoofs on like Gadzooks stuff. So we just call them chef special. So we're like, our Gadzooks proteins, we're just cooking on the flat top and like put them in the tacos and stuff. And that's kind of fun too, because that's what's awesome about this space is we can do random anything we really want to cook. Maybe we decide to buy some shrimp one day and just make shrimp taco. Whatever we want to do, we're just going to do it. And it's been fun cooking in that, because it feels like you have Benihana, you know. As a cook, you know, maybe do some tricks with your onions.
But it also feels like you're at the chef from Benihana's living room, right?
Yeah,
like they
exactly.
brought the teppanyaki home, because it keeps it fresh in a way. It's like, what are you guys feeling today? You're making it for the people coming over to your house, if you will, but instead it's actually, you know, a beer bar restaurant. And I think that is something that people are more and more so embracing. And I think, you know, I've grown up in Arizona. My background, you know, I wasn't going to places that had chef specials. I don't know that I ever ordered a chef special in my life until I started getting into the industry more and understanding, you know, a lot of people will say, oh, it's just the old stuff that they want to use and get rid of. Maybe in some instances, sure. But also, if the chef can make something awesome out of it, why wouldn't you try it? What are some other items that you've done as chef specials that people might find here if they pop in here on any given day?
Oh, God, what have we done? Well, what I really want to do, because of the trompo is just a different cooking mechanism. So we can stack lamb, we can stack goat. We can do a different spin on what we have on the pork. So we've been talking about using that trompo with different proteins and stuff. But yeah, so far we've done short rib, we've done chicken, we've done a shredded pork. Oh, we did bison. We went through that really quick.
Wow.
So,
brought cornbread in.
Cornbread. We did some cornbread stuff. Yeah. But like the bison, yeah, we just were doing our Modelo Braised bison from Gadzooks, but we're just cooking with like onion and garlic and just making it, and then it just gets crispy on the flat top, and it turns into like you almost transport to like Mexico City when you have like that style of taco. You're like, holy shit, like I feel like I'm in Mexico right now, because the corn is so aromatic and soft, and the masa smell, and then yeah, it's just really awesome. And it's just fun to do because it's simple, it's easy, but again, it's just well executed items.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I can talk too much more about tacos without eating some tacos, but before we let you guys go, tell us a little bit about some of your favorite spots around town that you found Al Pastor Tacos, so I can write them down and know where I need to go besides here.
I think our favorite was, we'd probably go to Tacos Huicho. There's one on 20th Street and what is it? It's just south of yeah, just south of
or north.
I think it's
McDowell.
Oak, 20th Street and Oak.
Yeah.
Just your like little taqueria that small street tacos are like $3 a pop or $2 a pop, whatever they are. You can eat like 12 of them. That one was always good because then it's like what we do here. All of our salsas are in squirt bottles, which I always adored when we would go to different places that would have that. But then COVID happened and people like got away from them, and then they're putting them in like small little ramekins. That makes no sense because you can't put a chip into the ramekin, and then you're not pouring. The usage doesn't make sense. So we went back to the squirt bottle, and that like at Huicho you get your little pastor taco and you can put different salsas on it and stuff, and I love that. So I would say that's what we thought was our favorite go-to, that we could eat a lot of them.
Yeah, and Aaron got to go to Mexico City, and then I was in San Francisco for a long time, and it's like, yeah, you want that El Pastor to like melt in your mouth and not be chewy. I think that's the number one thing that we were going for, because obviously we're going to season things and make it flavorful, and we get to play with that. But the content, the meat and the chew and the texture, like that was number one thing. So we knew we wanted that.
Yeah, and going down, if the viewers have been to Mexico City, you know what I'm talking about. It's like you go down to Mexico, my wife and I would just walk around, and you get like, you over order the tacos because it's so cheap, and you just slug some Indios, and there's nothing better. You just are drinking that light lager.
Makes you want to move to Mexico.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so that's kind of what, like when you're eating a taco here with your beer, you're like, it's weird how it reminds you of that.
So one last question for you guys before we wrap it all up. Is there any daily specials, weekly specials, happy hours, any other things that you guys have coming together? You touched on Pool Boy Taco a little bit too. Anything else you want to say?
Yeah, so Pool Boy will be here in a few months. We launched that at the Aspen Food and Wine back in June. So kind of bougie, but we ended up winning Best Taste up there, which was really cool. So once that's open, during the day you'll be able to like order at Woodpecker from the bar. You'll be able to order Pool Boys, and they'll bring the tacos over while
Where
you're
will
sitting
it be
here.
located exactly?
It's right on the main entrance of Earl and Central here at Park Central.
Okay.
It's going to be this super cool like Miami Vice mid-century looking glass box with a bunch of white around it, plants and stuff.
Like not even a 2-minute walk from here, just right over there.
Yeah, right across. So that we're really excited for that, and then we're almost there, but so we really want to sell a lot of Carta Blanca beer, which is just a Mexican lager. We sell them at Gadzooks, but that's going to be kind of our happy hour beer that you can come in here, get a $2 Carta Blanca, and then we're going to put what they call a meat and cheese puppet on it. So if you've ever been to Durant Steakhouse, if you order an Anchor Steam from the bar, with your Anchor Steam beer on a toothpick, they put salami, and then they put like pepper jack or a cheddar cheese on it, and then that's just a little snack you get with your beer. So that's what we're gonna do, so you can always have like a go-to, like, okay, I'm gonna just drink some cheap beers but have a little treat with it. So that we'll have here in a few days.
And then we're going to do the grab and go burrito, where we'll have them. People can grab and go, make them at home, or we can heat them up for you here and finish it on a flat top so it's nice and crispy, and we'll have a meat and a vegetarian option. So this space really gives us an opportunity to play with things. Again, elevated beer and wine bar first. We're really excited to be next to West Hut, and Thai chili and First Watch, and anybody can come in here and just munch on whatever they want. And I think that was always endearing when we'd show up to a party and there'd be like a Gadzooks bag and people are eating Gadzooks at a party, and we're like, this is exactly what we want, you know. So we want people to bring food in, but if you come for the tacos at night, 5 to 9 right now, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and we're going to see how it goes and expand those hours. And
Nice.
But really want to focus on high quality tacos during that time. So
Yeah. Well, and yeah, beer and wine first. I mean, the tap list is fantastic. I can't wait to grab another beer after this and taco once you fire everything up. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for sitting down with us. Can't wait to see what happens with Pool Boy Taco and anything else you guys have in the works.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Cheers. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.